And then I'm going to turn the floor over to JT and Kate because I'm so excited about this session. I love the idea of resiliency in challenging times because every time is challenging, right? And now, of course, it's kind of challenging to the max and the extreme. And so many of the conversations we had as planners getting ready for this event is we're going to have this audience of people that are in a really challenging space. So how do we have speakers that are going to help make them feel empowered, make them feel like they want to join the conversation? And this, and I'll just keep reminding everybody, is definitely about conversations. So feel free to unmute yourself, talk, raise your hand. You can join in the chat, but we'd rather hear your voices and see your smiles. So with that, we'll turn it over to JT and Kate.
Absolutely. And we want to do this like an old-fashioned quote slam, which is kind of like a poetry slam, but less kind of rhymey. And so I'll be DJ JT, and we've got Grandmaster Kate Patay. And we're going to have some fun today. We're gonna go through some of our favorite resiliency quotes and some stories around that, but we take requests. So we would love to have you throw in some of your favorite resiliency quotes, and we're going to ask you for your stories too. So this is really just about talking about how we all get through this together, and we're real excited to do it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first quote. You ready to go, Kate?
I am ready. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see if it advances. There we go.
Perfect.
So we'll start off with resilience is very different than being numb. Resilience means you experience, you feel, you fail, you hurt, you fall, but you keep going. Yasmin Mogahed, scholar.
Yeah, I jumped in on this one. This one just spoke to me because I think it's so easy to, and we all do it at times. Let's just be honest in this. We're supposed to be having real conversations. It's easy to sit down and have a cocktail and be resilient in that way and not feel all of these emotions, but we don't have a roadmap for this or how you're supposed to act or feel during, a pandemic on top of everything else going on. We just keep getting hit left and right, but I think you need to feel all of that and really, let yourself work through all of the emotion of this. And not just be numb to it that entire time. So that was why this one really jumped out to me. So I had that turned off, of course, when we're recording. FaceTime me, it's just how it works. It is, I don't know your thoughts on that side of it, but, feel it, experience it, really work through that emotion so it doesn't pop up later and haunt you at some point in time. So even when it's the toughest, I try and force myself to stay in the moment and get through it and understand why I feel the way I do. And then I wait till 5 and I have my cocktail after.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like going through the stages of grief, right? At first, when the order came to evacuate, so that you had to shelter in place, it was just unbelieving, right? It was shock. And then it was bargaining, right? It was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just go in once a week, or maybe we'll just do it for 3 weeks, and then suddenly here we are 6 months later. And I've been around a while, so I've been through a number of economic cycles. I was at a mortgage magazine in 2007 and 2008, and you can guess what happened to that. We had a conference in Las Vegas with 3,000 mortgage brokers, a live lion on stage, which I don't recommend at all because you have to drug them and the insurance is crazy. We had Tony Robbins. It was nuts. And then a couple of months later, it was just over. Like it ended so fast. It was crazy. Similar thing at a investing in junior mining publication. The price of gold goes up and down, and your life goes with it. But what I've learned is when you fall, what helps you get back up is having the right team. And when this first went down, I was so glad that I found the team I have now. Marin Bright immediately started launching projects. We had, the new Smart U, we had the Smart Connection, we had all these things, and we weren't baking bread, right? So I have not perfected my banana bread recipe because we've just been running as fast as we can from home, as you can see. But yeah, you got to go through all of the stages of emotion. And I'm wondering, what stage is everyone feeling that they're in right now? Negotiating, accepting, anger?
So I'm in Tennessee, and Tennessee's not doing great on the whole like following the rules thing. And a lot of the people I hung out pre-COVID are part of those people. So I've mainly been staying at the anger, not so much at the disease, because I feel like that's just a waste, but at the people who are choosing not to take this seriously and or not choosing to follow the science rules more than the political stuff, because they're only going to keep this going on longer than any of us want.
Mm-hmm. And what about all the people trying to convince you different on Facebook? I'm just about over that side of
Lord.
I post something and then I turn around and leave. Like, I can't with any of you right now because
especially the ones who are like, oh, you guys who are, following the rules, you're just like cowering in your house. And my mom and I are like, no, we're still living our lives. We're just figuring out a way to do it safely.
Mm-hmm. And everyone is different, and that's fine. And however you're handling it, you need to do what's best for you and your family, and whatever that level of safety is, go with it and own it. I love all the comments that are coming in, the quote slam and finding your tribe. I feel like a lot of us have found our tribe. That's why we're all here today, and here to help build each other up. And I'll say it all of the time, and I don't think it's cliche in any way. I do think that we are stronger together. That's what this is about, is coming out of this together at the end of it. And you've done the right thing. You want to come out on the right side of history here, that you are acting properly throughout this entire one. And, I looked back at my posts from March when all this was shutting down, and I was in Las Vegas at the time and hosting a search event. And it was very hopeful, just thinking, in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, it'll be fine. And like JT, like you said, 6-7 months later, here we still are. So I like to think it's a cautious optimism. I'm not going to fall down that black hole of negativity, but I'm not going to be naive either with my positivity. I kind of walk that line down the center. I'm realistic, but you need to stay optimistic. That's just human nature. That's life. I refuse to fall down that black hole of the negative.
And it could change from moment to moment, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Hey, Sharon.
A break.
All right. Any others before we go to our next poetry quote slam? All right. So, I don't think that it would be a quote slam without Oprah Winfrey. So this is the required Oprah Winfrey quote. And you have to turn your wounds into wisdom. I think that sometimes it's easy to focus on the wounds part, and it takes time to turn that into wisdom, and you can't make it go any faster. This was one that both Kate and I had submitted. We played a game of your favorite quotes. What about Oprah speaks to you, Kate?
I mean, my business was founded on an Oprah quote, the one about letting excellence be your brand. That was what spoke to me when I knew I had to branch off on my own. And everything she says just speaks to me in so many ways. And it is turning your wounds into wisdom. At the time, you may not always realize why you're going through something. And this speaks to me too on the not being a victim side of it. I'm always going to learn from whatever's happening to me, good, bad, or indifferent. There's a lesson in it every single time. And that's what this just basically screams at me, is figure out whatever that is and how do you do better moving forward from it.
Absolutely. Is Oprah speaking to anyone else out there?
Give her my number if she is. I'll talk to her too.
What's that?
Said if Oprah's speaking to anyone else, let us know. And I'm like, and give her my number too. I'm going to talk to her.
I love this Oprah quote. And I would say, and part of what we're doing here with the Age of Conversation is some of the best ways to find the wisdom in your wounds is to talk to other people about it, to talk about what you're going through, because they can sometimes help you see the wisdom that you can't see because you're inside of it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's great advice.
All right.
Sharing is caring. That's right, Sharon.
I love it. We always have a positive outlook.
So I also am a huge Isabel Allende fan, and we don't even know how we are until we are forced to bring that hidden strength forward. I think this is a time a lot of people are finding some strength. this is a story I don't share a lot, but when I was 45, I ran away from home. After 25 years of marriage, I dumped all of my shoes and my computer into my Prius, and I left the big house in the gated community and the business and the cars and the boats, and I started a new life. I went and lived in a friend's art gallery on a sofa for a while, and then by the time I turned 50, I had a whole new life in a new town and a new industry and a new partner who brings me coffee in bed and is very caring, and I created that, and it was scary as can be because I was 19 when I met my first husband. I didn't know if I could create a life, right? And I did it with the help of some friends and just figuring out what meant something to me in my life, and created a life that aligned with my values. And it was hard, but wow, now I look back and every day I'm like, whew, so glad I'm not there anymore. But I didn't know I had that until I did it.
Mm-hmm. I love
and
that.
I'm only sharing that because I want you guys to feel like you could share your real strength story.
I feel like I know you even better now. I've known you for a handful of years, but that just shows your true character and why you're leading the resiliency talk right now, because that's the epitome of it. You leapt and you did what was right for you, for, you know, your physical, mental well-being, all of the above, I'm sure. And you went for it. I'm proud to be your friend actually right now.
Oh, and you have your own story.
Yes, there's been very trying times along the way. You know, my first jump was leaving New York and just heading to the bright lights of Vegas, honestly, because I didn't like the cold anymore. I was stuck in a snowstorm for a week and had just had it, but packed up and left with nothing and headed out to the desert and found success out here and lots of experience. And then I turned around and I jumped again and launched my own company. I couldn't find anywhere that was aligning with my values and what I wanted to do and what I brought to the table. And I wanted to work with people that wanted to work with me. You know, when you meet that person and you click, that's what I wanted in my business. And I went for it. I'm thrilled I did. It's crazy right now, especially not knowing what business is going to look like, you know, traveling right now. And that's part of the pivot. I said I wouldn't say pivot during this, but I just broke my own rule. You know, part of the business pivot is trying to support our industry and show what travel and hospitality really looks like. Because I see these sensational headlines that are just terrifying people to stay in their homes. And it's not a political side of things. It's just, these are so sensational so many times that I don't think it shows what it really is like. And our industry needs to recover. So that's where I've been kind of pushing towards, is how do I best support hospitality overall and get people to feel it's really like to go out and travel. And again, if it's not right for you, don't go yet. If it's not right for your family, if you're not comfortable, but I want to show the good and the bad side of it. And I'm pretty upfront with those, snark and all. Oh, darn it, I have to put $1 in the pivot jar, gal. How many dollars? All right, we'll put dollars in
a lot of money in the jar.
We'll put a word down that we're not allowed to say. It'll go into the jar, and then we're all going to donate it to Search Foundation after.
No pivots and no unprecedented. Those two words have been banned.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh,
we try to use pirouetted because we try to be graceful.
That one I will totally allow.
Look, I have to write that down so I don't forget it. I love it.
Well, I want to know who else here has traveled. I know I went about a month ago to Florida to an Al-Hi women's event, and it was such a relief. It was just, they did a wonderful job. I felt safe. I felt like we could make this happen. It was, anyone else traveling out there? No? We'll get there eventually.
So we in Knoxville have a Facebook group that's Mask Up Knoxville. And it's basically where people can post their personal experience, good and bad, different businesses and stuff that they've been to. And my sense is that most companies are doing what they're supposed to. The problem is the customer. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, there's been a few places, some people say, well, like I went to wherever, and if the customer wasn't willing to follow the rules, the company was like, well, you have to leave. But then other places, it's like the employees just completely ignore it. And in some cases, it is a large company, so they're saying, well, it's a corporate thing, it's not just a local thing, sort of. So that's making it hard to want to venture out locally, let alone further away.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the level of how people are listening and not listening. I think Nevada and California wise, and this week I'll be in Arizona, I feel like have been doing the right thing, and you've seen the numbers drop a lot over that. I just got back from Las Vegas, and like I was out at Red Rock while I was there for most of the stay, and it's probably the most normal I've felt since all of this happened, which is a very big statement because I've been a few different spots for business, had to travel for work. I try to keep it to a minimum and do it all virtually from my beautiful office here. But yeah, it's the most normal I felt in a while. I feel like we're kind of getting a handle on it finally and seeing ways that you can bring it back, yet still be safe and responsible. So I'm proud of our industry for being so innovative through this and figuring out how to make it happen.
Well, I work for the University of Tennessee, and we have like 2,000 plus people in quarantine or isolation right now.
Wow.
And it doesn't help that our governor, like a month or so ago, somebody from the White House, like health department or whatever, was in Tennessee saying, this is what you need to do to get your numbers under control. And she finished speaking, and then the governor came up and was like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
See, people have to get on the same page together. Again, I don't care what side of the political spectrum that you fall on. We've got to do what's right. There was a quote I heard at the beginning, all of this, that when we look back, we're never going to know if we overreacted, but we'll definitely know if we underreacted. And I'd rather fall on the safe side of that and maybe overreact a little to it and be a little extra cautious. So it doesn't, red or blue doesn't matter to me. Just do the right thing, protect those that need it. And if you're in one of those groups that it should be protected a little more, I suggest staying in. And, I've been cooking for people that are elderly and bringing food so they don't need to leave their homes. I had a friend that was going through chemo through all of this and couldn't go out. So, we take care of each other. That's humanity. That's what we should all be doing here.
And giving each other grace, because everyone's just trying to get through this.
Exactly.
All right, let's do another quote. Let's do a Madonna quote. So I don't know if you can guess who sent this one in. Kate, do you want to read it off?
The swear jar now too.
Go for it, Kate.
I'm tough, I'm ambitious, and I know exactly what I want. And if that makes me a bitch, okay. I'm good with this. I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Maybe I'll be your shot of whiskey. It's fine. I stand by what I believe in. And like you said, JT, I give grace and kindness. I try to put myself in other people's shoes first. But I also know what I want, and I know what's right, and I'll do the right thing every time, even if it's not the most popular thing. So this jumped out at me as one of those quotes of resiliency and staying strong. If you know you're doing the right thing, this is what makes a true leader. Someone who's not afraid to speak up, even if it's not the easiest decision, but they do what's best for the greater good. I think that's what we have to look at. We look at that with associations, with our businesses, and it's hard to sometimes make those decisions on what you're going to do, but you've got to carry your business through so that you give people a business to come back to one day. You need to lead with what's going to be the best for the majority of people. You're going to have a couple naysayers here and there because not every decision will make everyone happy. But if it's for the greater good, then that's what you need to do, and you need to stand behind that. If you're doing it for the right reasons, I think it's going to speak for itself long term.
And there are a lot of hard decisions being made right now. Anyone out there having to make some hard decisions right now?
It's a tough one. It's not easy to lead even when times are good, let alone when times are tough like this. So shout out to people that are taking the lead and making a decision. And, it takes a lot too to be able to also say maybe it wasn't the right decision and to fix it. You make the best decision you can with the data and the information that you have at the time. And there's times you look back and say, you know what? we need to do something different. And that's okay. I think that shows incredible strength, incredible resiliency to stand there and say, we're going to do it a little bit different. Here's why. So I'm not afraid to speak up and say those things. If you had asked me that 20 years ago, I may have had a different answer. I think that comes with age, with experience and all of this. And that's why we're having this talk on resiliency is, you get knocked down a few times and you learn how to come back.
Madonna definitely has, and she's made some bad choices. I don't know who else in the 80s was wearing day glow and lace little socks with jellies, but I do regret some of those decisions. But I think that, learning how to just take on the next thing and stand tall is part of how we get through, right?
Mm-hmm. She made the right call with starting up her yoga, though. My goodness, her biceps. Oh.
All right. What's our next quote? Okay, so let's go to some Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Courage to continue that counts. Kate, you want to talk about continuing?
It's not giving up. There's days that you're going to wake up and just not even want to get out of bed or turn on a light or come out from under the covers. And you know what? That's okay. Take a few minutes to yourself, but get it back together and you pick yourself up and you move forward. Like the last quote when we were just talking about, sometimes you don't make the right call every time, but I think it's how you act during that and how you face that and recover from it that speaks to your character and resiliency. So, it's tough. I've had those moments. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. There's a couple days I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't working on me. I wasn't working on my business. My husband came home one day and was like, how long have you been in the house now? I think it was about 6 days. You got to go, get up. Here we go. We all fall into a funk at times. So, have those people around you that are going to reach out and say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. You okay? What's going on? And you carry each other forward. You get
absolutely.
The girl gang, I'll say it. I don't know if we're supposed to say that on here, but I'm going to. Girl gang, absolutely. We check
totally
on
say
it. It's what we do. That's what you aim for in life, is to find those people that will reach out, that will call and check in and let you have your moment and then be like, all right, are we done? We're done being the victim? Okay, let's go.
Yeah. There's a great one in here. Napoleon Hill says, never permanent failures, only temporary defeat. If you've learned a lesson, it's never a fail. That's a very good one. I'm in the Bay Area, and so in San Francisco, everyone wears gray hoodies, and what they're hoping for is the love of a good VC. And the saying is that you break things, you move fast, and then you iterate, right? So I think at this time in our industry, that a lot of people are giving that grace, right? Everyone knows that you're experimenting, you're trying a new thing, you're doing something different. And if there's a glitch in the video, they're going to say, we're all helping to move the industry forward by trying these things. So if there was ever a chance to do something that made you scared, this is it. This is it. And there are going to be people there to help pull you back up, because we're all going through this together right now. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. And you guys, if you're not following Smart Meetings, I know that JT will never sell herself, so I'll sell her for you. Smart Meetings has been so forward thinking in what you're putting out there content wise and creating these discussion groups and making sure that you're truly supporting the industry. You see some people that do things for a buck, and then you see some people do it because it's the right thing to do. And I'll say that you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I admire that. I've followed every bit of what you put out there. And I love that you're moving forward with the Smart event in November in Nashville and doing it right and smart and following along. It's hard to always take a stand, but you guys look at what's out there and what's, the climate of the industry, and you do what the industry needs. I love that. Do you have anything any secret to success with how you come up with that formula? Or we have as we fly?
Very, very sweet of you to say that. We have an amazing team. Like I said, I could not want to be on any other team than Marin's at this time. Like, she is just well, let's try this. Well, let's try that. And then of course I have a team of editors there who are just so creative, and an art team that's been great. And when Carrie first reached out to me about doing this presentation, I said, well, I'm going to bring some smart women. So we have 2 smart women winners here. I see Sharon and Kate is a Hall of Fame. You're both Hall of Fame smart women winners. And I think this industry is full of role models. And so whenever I want to do something, whether it's my editorial advisory board, we just announced the planners of the year. These are the people that I reach out to because they're the ones that have the knowledge. They're the ones that are willing to share their skills. And so that's made it a lot easier. But thank you for those.
You surround yourself with great people. That's what we should be doing.
Absolutely.
Always with the best. Oh, we just had another quote come in. A diamond is a chunk of coal that did well under pressure. Girl, I agree. And I'll take those all day long. They are my best friend. I have an anniversary in a few days. I'm hoping that a new one pops up for me.
All right, well, we got our 5-minute warning, but I don't think there's another session after us in here. So we're gonna try to go quickly, but and if people
we can run over, we've got a little space in between. So anyone who wants to hang out is welcome to.
Because we got the slow jam coming at the end. You know, that's where you say the same quote, but really slowly with a lot of spaces in between. Okay, a Sophia quote. So you have to kick people out of your head as forcefully as you kick someone out of the house, your house. And Kate is the one that brought this to us, but I just want to quickly say that we had a webinar we called the Survivor Diaries last week. And so it was 5 smart women in meetings winners, and we came together and we went through each of the months and what we were feeling as we went through. And these are women that I so admire. They're at the top of their game, and yet they completely had imposter syndrome. Like these were people that you would think had it nailed, and they felt like did they have the right to be in the room, let alone doing what they were doing? And that was shocking to me. And Kate, I want to hear why you suggested this quote, but does anyone else feel that? And how do you overcome that feeling? How do you kick that person out of your head?
Boundaries. We know I'm the queen of boundaries. I set them, I keep them. I think that's the only way to stay safe and healthy and sane and all of that, whether it's, boundaries on your consumption of media, boundaries on what you will and won't put up with from business, from friendships, from everything in between. You need to figure out what that looks like. And someone that's not in my headspace, that they don't get free rent in my mind. That's all there is to it. That, you're there doing the right thing, and I would. And so funny enough, you told me when I had put this one up here that you knew Sophia's mother, and she was a very precocious child, I believe is how it was put, which is interesting. I think a lot of us were, but you grow and you learn what those boundaries are and what you are willing to put up with and what you won't. And that's how people are going to treat you. They'll treat you exactly how you allow them to. So set that firm boundary and don't accept anything less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that actually like the ones that are for Mr. Right and whatnot? I'll tell them like, listen, if you're dating Mr. Wrong, how are you going to find Mr. Right? And it's like that, whether it's dating, whether it's business, everything in between, just the right ones. Nope, no time for you.
Yeah. So Sophia, I'm sure, I'm not talking out of school because she wrote this in her book, but her mother, Dina, is a friend of mine. She's actually a very good writer in her own right, and has a column on Psychology Today about raising challenging children. And Sophia was dumpster diving. She was living the freegan life. And then she started Nasty Gal. She wrote Girl Boss, and has since, gone bankrupt, divorced, come back. I mean, she is the essence of resiliency, but a little tough to be her mom because you worry about her.
I can't even imagine. There's so many tough stories, that you come back from. You shared one. I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone outside of probably my immediate family that knows, but you know, coming up this weekend, I've been married for 10 years. No one knows I had a little, what I call starter marriage, to try and make it seem a little less crazy than what it was. And that person, when I was coming up through business and starting organizational chapters and really putting myself out there, you know, I'm in my early 20s and was like, I'm going for it. This is what I want to do with business. And it was I was working at a hotel casino at the time as director of catering and events, and had a huge event in. Every year they came in and I basically was working 20 hours a day for the whole week, because that's what was required to make this huge street festival work. And I was told I needed to choose between business and a personal relationship. And I firmly believe you can find boundaries and have both. I think it is achievable if you're clear with those boundaries and expectations. And I was very abruptly told that, no, I had to choose one or the other. I needed to be a stay-at-home wife, or I could have my career. And in the middle of this conference, he put divorce papers on my desk and forced me to choose on the spot. So guess where I am today? You know which decision I made.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh my God. I've never told that story before to anyone. My sister and my mom know, and that's basically it. And now you guys know as well. But, you know, you don't know how strong you really are until you're tested. And, you know, I think I made the right choice. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy in my relationship, in my career, with the people I'm surrounded with. So that's really digging down and finding that true grit, that strength from within.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Kate. Yeah. Sometimes you don't know when the breaking point's going to come, but you know when it's time to act.
Oh, ladies, thank you for all that support. I'm reading through the chat to hear us share. Everyone, thank you. That's really sweet.
And I do know we're running out of time, so we'll end with one of my favorites. I don't know if we have some other Douglas Adams fans out there. You want to bring a towel. You never know. They always come in handy. And don't panic. Yes. the secret to the meaning to life, the universe, and everything, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the answer is don't panic, but let yourself go through all of that stuff together, and you have a lot of people here that are here to support you.
Oh, what great. Thank you so much. I want to give a big round of virtual applause to JT and Kate. You guys did great. Thank you so much for just making it real, wonderful quotes, really accessible for the group. I think there's a lot to think about. And, you know, so much of this conference, the Age of Conversation, is doing exactly this, having great conversations, lifting each other up, reminding each other, like, we're not going to panic. We're all going to get through this. It's going to end. We're going to get to the next phase and the next phase. And, you know, there was a day Kate probably looked at those divorce papers and thought my life will never be the same. And luckily it probably wasn't, and it was better. So let's all give JT and Kate some applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. We really appreciate it.
It was so great. Just a reminder that everything's being recorded. So if you can't make all the sessions, because you can't, you can check them out later. You can head over actually into the main room for the keynote. Rachel's going to be started talking probably about 3 minutes ago. So you can jump in there. You're always welcome into the central perk if you want to keep your conversations going, say hi, have some good discussions, or take a little lunch break and come on back for the afternoon. So thanks everybody. It was great to see you all.
Bye. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks.
High five.
See you soon.